Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, if you've been paying attention to the NFL landscape lately, you've probably noticed that the NFC South is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing divisions in the entire league. You see, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers rebuilding, the New Orleans Saints trying to find their identity again, and the Carolina Panthers potentially on the rise, the Atlanta Falcons have an incredible opportunity to solidify their position as division contenders. But as always, there's a lot happening behind the scenes, and a recent rumor mill buzz suggests that the Falcons might be eyeing a very interesting player to add to their wide receiver room, someone who, at first glance, might seem like a buy low candidate, but one that could bring some real value: Gabe Davis. That's right, Gabe Davis, former Buffalo Bills star turned Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver, has been a hot topic lately among NFL insiders and fans alike. And let me tell you, for Falcons fans, this isn't just idle chatter. It's something worth paying attention to because Davis's situation could open a window of opportunity for Atlanta. But before we get into the specifics of whether he's the right fit, let's do a quick deep dive into his recent career, his strengths, his flaws, and what the Falcons might be thinking if they consider bringing him on board. So, Davis's story over the last year is quite a roller coaster. Just over a year ago, he signed a pretty hefty deal, 3 years, $39 million, with $24 million guaranteed with the Jaguars. At the time, many fans and analysts thought this was a solid investment. Davis had shown flashes of brilliance during his time with the Bills, especially with his speed and ability to stretch the field, making him a deep threat that defenses had to respect. But then, things took a turn. His first season in Jacksonville was disappointing, to say the least. Playing only 10 games, he caught 20 passes for 239 yards. Those numbers are far below what you'd expect from a player with his profile, and worse still, his yards per reception, receptions per game, and yards per game all hit career lows. And if that wasn't enough, his season ended prematurely after suffering a torn meniscus in his left knee. That injury was a huge blow, not just for Davis, but for the Jaguars, who had hoped he would be a key piece in their offensive puzzle. The team, after assessing his recovery and overall contribution, decided that it was better to part ways, opting to take a dead cap hit of around $20 million rather than continue investing in a player who hadn't lived up to expectations and was coming off a serious injury. That's a significant financial commitment to walk away from, and it signals that the Jaguars are perhaps looking to move in a different direction, especially as they aim to rebuild and find more consistent offensive options. Now, why should the Falcons be interested in Gabe Davis? Well, for starters, he's a player with undeniable speed. If you're looking for a guy who can run in a straight line faster than almost anyone on the field, Davis fits that bill. His ability to stretch the field could open up opportunities underneath for slot receivers or tight ends, creating more space for the Falcons' offensive playmakers. And quite frankly, the Falcons' receiving core in 2024 lacked that explosive element, especially after losing some depth and consistency following last season. Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, and the inconsistent play of other receivers left a lot to be desired in terms of vertical threat and stretch-the-field capability. Darnell Mooney, who has some speed himself, has been the best option so far, but he's too valuable to be constantly used as a decoy or just a deep threat. The Falcons need someone who can genuinely open up the field, force defenses to respect the passing game vertically, and create space for players like Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and others to operate more freely. That's where Davis could fit in, if he's healthy and can recapture some of his previous form. His skill set is pretty clear: a straight-line burner who can challenge defenses deep and force safeties into tough decisions. But and there's always a but. Davis's recent injury history and inconsistent production raise some red flags. The torn meniscus he suffered last season is no small matter. recovery time can vary, and there's always the risk that he might not be the same player post-injury. Plus, considering the timing of signings and training camp preparations, Davis might not even be ready for the start of the season. Gaining chemistry with quarterback Michael Penix, or anyone else the Falcons might have in mind, would be a challenge if he's not healthy during the summer. Teams usually want their new receivers to get familiar with their quarterback's tendencies, build rapport, and understand the offensive scheme, all things that take time, especially if you're coming off an injury. Now, as we analyze this scenario further, it's crucial to remember that Gabe Davis's market right now isn't sky high. After a disappointing season and a significant injury, he's likely to be looking at a deal that's more team-friendly, possibly a veteran minimum or a low-cost deal with incentives. That's an attractive offer for teams like the Falcons, who are always looking to maximize their cap space and find productive players at a reasonable price. And let's be honest, in the current NFL landscape, where teams are cautious with big money investments, a player like Davis could be a perfect buy low candidate. If he can get healthy and regain his speed, he could provide a spark that the Falcons' offense desperately needs. However, it's important to temper expectations. Signs point to Davis possibly not being ready for camp, and his recovery timeline remains uncertain. The Falcons would need to weigh whether the potential upside outweighs the risk of bringing in a player who might still be rehabbing when the season begins. Plus, there are other options out there. Jamal Agnew, for example, who missed all of 2024 due to injury, could serve a similar role if healthy. But Agnew's health status is also uncertain, and that adds another layer of complexity. From a strategic perspective, the Falcons could see Davis as a low-risk, high-reward addition if he's available and can contribute. His speed and ability to stretch the field would complement the team's existing weapons, creating mismatches and loosening up defenses. It would also give Atlanta some flexibility in offensive schemes, allowing them to diversify their attack and keep defenses guessing. But again, the key is health and timing. If Davis isn't ready when the season kicks off, the team would need to look elsewhere temporarily, and that's where the veteran free agent market comes into play. For Falcons fans, the idea of adding a player like Gabe Davis is exciting because it signals an aggressive approach to improving the offense. Despite his struggles, his raw talent is undeniable, and with the right coaching staff and a little bit of luck, he could still be a valuable asset. But it's also a reminder that not every move is guaranteed to work out. Sometimes, signing a player with question marks comes with risk. The Falcons' front office, led by Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, has shown a willingness to take calculated risks, especially when the potential reward aligns with the team's overall goal of contending for a Super Bowl. Looking at the bigger picture, Atlanta's wide receiver room in 2024 needs an injection of explosiveness, and Davis's profile fits that mold. The Falcons have been building through the draft, focusing on young talent like Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, but adding a veteran with game-breaking speed could be the final piece to make the offense truly dangerous. It's all about complementing their existing core and creating a balanced attack that keeps defenses on their heels. Now, as we consider the potential signing, it's vital to remember that the NFL is always filled with surprises. Teams often make moves late in the offseason or during training camp that catch everyone off guard. Whether or not Davis becomes a Falcon remains to be seen, but the discussion itself highlights how aggressive and strategic Atlanta is willing to be in shaping their roster. They're always looking for that edge, that player who can elevate the team and push them closer to their championship aspirations. And let's face it, the NFC South is not just any division. It's one of the most unpredictable, with teams constantly reshuffling, trying to find their identity. The Falcons, with their young core and new additions, have a real shot at making noise if they make the right moves. The potential signing of a player like Davis is just one piece of the puzzle, but it symbolizes their willingness to be bold and take chances on players who, despite their flaws, possess the talent to make a difference. So, as we wait for further updates, keep an eye on how this situation develops. Will the Falcons pull the trigger? Will Davis be healthy enough to contribute? And how will this impact their overall offensive strategy moving forward? These are the questions fans should be asking. Because, at the end of the day, every move, every signing, every draft pick is about one thing: making the Falcons better and inching closer to that elusive Super Bowl. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Atlanta Falcons. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Atlanta Falcons news.